Alright, so in the evolutionary psychology field, there's often a topic that's talked about called ovulatory shift. Now, what it is that it's the observation that when women are in their fertile phase, they look for good genes, and then when they're in their non-fertile phase, then they look for something like beta features. Ovulatory shift has been, in the works for a while now, but its major bodies of research pretty much came around 2008 to 2010. However, there's one problem that came with it. A lot of the recent research has not been able to replicate this effect. So the first effect of ovulatory shift is that when women are in their fertile phase, they look for short-term mating. And then when they're in their non-fertile phase, then they look for long-term mating. However, the evidence suggests that women prioritize both long-term and short-term, no matter what part of the phase it is. The second claim for ovulatory shift is that when women are in their fertile phase, they look for dominant masculine behavior, and then when they're not, then they look for passive behavior. Turns out that there's really not much difference. And the last claim of ovulatory shift is that when women are in their fertile phase, they look for masculine body and masculine face. And then when they're not in their fertile phase, then they look for feminine faces. And turns out the evidence suggests that it's quite the same no matter what part of the menstrual cycle she's in. Now, I get that there's other claims for those, but those are the real three that I see. Now, in regards to ovulatory shift, there are 3 people in particular that have pushed the work on this theory. One being a person named Hasselton, a guy called Gangestad, and Gildersleeve. Now, this isn't to say that ovulation doesn't have any sort of effect on women. In regards to all of the research, there have been 2 consistent findings. The first one is that women view their partners as more attractive, and number 2, women want to have sex with the attractive guy, no matter what part of the phase it is. Now, looking back at the very early Hasselton work, I could point out a lot of flaws that I didn't before. The first one is that the very early studies of ovulatory shift from Hasselton, around 2004 to 2008, what they did was that they gave women a diary to measure ovulation, and a lot of it was self-reported. So, but now, with our new methodology, we have certain tests, like urine and saliva tests, that can exactly tell us when a woman is ovulating. She never did that. And that's probably one of the biggest flaws of a lot of this research. Now, the second flaw that I was able to point out, well, I didn't really point it out. I really found this on the Wood meta-analysis. I think you should go check it out if you want more information. Is that Gildersleeve and Hasselton did not report any of its null effects from its larger scale work. And still, why this was happening after 2014 when that meta-analysis came out, still, more evidence has not been able to replicate this effect of ovulatory shift. Now, if you're thinking like I'm talking out of my ass, making all this sort of stuff up, I want you to think about this. The guy who made this theory up has even came out on a meta-analysis. Well, it wasn't really a meta-analysis. It was more of a review of all the evidence, and has even admitted that the evidence for ovulatory shift and the Dulme hypothesis is not looking good. So, this should really say to you something, that this is a theory that is not looking good. You can believe whatever you want. I don't really care. Just know one thing. This evidence has not been able to look good. Now, you're also probably wondering, what do you think about this theory? Now, before I go into it, I need to tell you a little something about this. This isn't psychology, okay? This is biology. If all women have evolved to have this sort of strategy where they look for short-term mating in their fertile phase and then long-term security in their non-fertile phase, this would be by far the worst evolutionary mechanic. Guys would have caught on to this. Guys would have caught on to this and would have picked up on it. And also, the other thing that you need to also think about is that if all women have evolved to have this sort of thing, there shouldn't be any sort of debate on this. There shouldn't be any evidence that is contradicting this. If all women ovulate, then therefore all women need to experience this sort of effect. Now, please let me know what you think, and if there's any evidence that I have missed, please let me know. But if I really went through all of the evidence against ovulatory shift, this wouldn't be a video. This would have been like an actual stream.